called as a model driven. So what is a template driven? Template driven means everything you are designing through the template. Majorly everything what you write in this form designing, you are going to do it in the template. That's why we call it a template driven. So what are the steps you need to perform? You need to first of all have a template reference added here at the form level. And then you are going to create your controls. You're going to give a name and ng model to it, right? And then that FRM object or that variable which you have created, that you are going to pass it as the argument to your save method. Now, because of this, your form is under the control of this FRM object. And based on that, you can always do a validations. If you apply validations, it will always work on those validations. Right? So I ran this? I just ran it. Yeah, here it is. Right? So you can see the validation is working. If I apply required or if I applied pattern, it's working here. Same way, another approach which is called as a model driven approach, which is also called as a reactive forms. Therein, what we are going to do is we have a reactive forms module that needs to be imported. Okay, and then we are going to design the model from the code. So our model would be actually from the code. So here, if you see, everything is written in the code in model driven, right? And we can apply the validation from the code level. So what advantage do you get here? The advantage you get here is, one is you can validate. You can add a validation. You can remove the validation at any moment of your code. Like based on some condition, you can add, remove, or clear all the validations. Anything you can do it. So we have taken one example wherein I say if I enter the product code which starts with P, then please add the required validation. Else remove all the validation. So what it does is if you see, it keep an eye on the product code control. And when there is a value change happening, it will check if the value has been changed and it is starting with the index is starting with the P, then it adds the validator and update the UI. Else it will just clear the clear all the validators. So that's how it is working here. P, you can see the validation for price has been enabled. Right? And if you remove and enter anything different character, you can see the validation is gone. Clear? Now, what other thing you can do with the model driven is you can have a complex form design. And last time we stopped at the codes, right? How do we add the array? So there is three things. You can add a group. Within the group, you can add a controls and array. Array is nothing but if you want to add a multiple array as a control, you can add it. So if you see, I have created an array here and I passed two controls. Now to load this on the UI, you need a for each loop. Okay, you need to load this in the UI. You need a for each because you don't know, right, how many items are there in the array, right? So one more thing you have to do is you have to convert your codes, because code is of type what? Form array. So I have created one getter. This is basically called as a getter. Okay, getter and setter. So what it does is it returns me the form array as the instance. I mean, it will give a reference of that form array. Okay, I'll find that codes control, which is here, and I'll just return that. So this name codes, I'll be using it in my UI and I'll loop it. You can see I'm looping here. Okay, now when I loop it, obviously I don't have a unique name because every control should have a unique name or unique ID, right, to identify. So for having the unique name, in your ng4, there is one more argument which you can pass, which will allow you to generate the index. Remember when I talked about the ng4, I was looping through the collection, right? But along with that, you can always have a predefined keyword called as the index. What it does is it keeps the index. It will maintain the index value. It starts from 0. Okay. So what I did, I just said 0 plus 1, and this will, and I gave the ID form control name as the index value. Okay. Now if you see, it is going to generate the two controls for me for the codes because my array is having 2 items. So this kind of a complex forms, you can always design it through the form builder. See, I'm just writing it and let's try to save. See the model, how it is generated. And if you want to make more complex, then this form, the code which I've created as an array, instead of array, I will again have a group, and within the group, again, I will have a control. So complexity can increase in this manner, and you can easily increase that complexity. That's why form model driven is better as compared to template driven. Clear, everyone? Okay, I already added that code just before this call. I was just adding that code. Fine. Now let's talk about the very, very important thing, that is reactive X. Okay, this is not about, I'm talking about the reactive forms module. I'm talking about something called as a library. There is a library which has been included as a part of your project called as a RxJS. Okay, but what is this RxJS? That is nothing but it's a reactive X library available. You can just search it. Let me just search reactive X. So this is a library which is used for asynchronous programming with observable stream. This is a library which is used for asynchronous programming with the observable stream. Okay. So what is ReactiveX? A library used for async programming with observable. I'll tell what we mean by observable streams. Okay. Now this library is available with different languages. So this library is available for JavaScript, for .NET. So there is something called as RX.NET. For Java, there is RX Java. For JS, JavaScript, you have RxJS. And there are many more. If you check here, languages, there are many other languages available. For Ruby also it's there, for C++ also it's there. Okay, this is all about a different library. It's a very huge library which is used for programming, wherein you will use a asynchronous coding, right? When you do a asynchronous coding here. No, Harmit, reactive forms module is not RxJS. Okay, reactive form is not RxJS. Reactive forms module is a part of your Angular forms, which is there. RxJS is altogether a separate library. That's why I said ReactiveX. Don't say think ReactiveX is related to the reactive forms module. No. This is a separate thing, and what we are talking here is a totally different thing. Okay, so there are different libraries available for RxJS, and because we are dealing with Angular, we are going to talk about RxJS library. We will not talk about Rx.NET or Rx Java. Okay, that library is already there as a part of your packet.json. If you see, it's there. Now, what is this library, and what is the use of this library? Let me just take a small diagram and show you. Maybe I'll just try to make you understand how how it works. Okay. Now, this RxJS library basically follows publisher consumer model. Okay, it follows a publisher consumer model. A very common example would be, let's say you basically take a magazine, right? You pay annual amount to the magazine. And what happens is every month you get a magazine at your doorstep. You don't ask for it, you don't email for them. Every month it will get it. At least for 1 year, you will get that magazine available in your. Why that is happening? Because you are subscribing to that magazine. Right? Someone is producing that magazine or someone is publishing that magazine and you are subscribing to that magazine. That's the reason you keep getting the new magazine every month. Correct? Until you just say unsubscribe. Same concept applies over here. Okay, so let's understand. So when you talk about RxJS, you are going to talk about three things, three terms you will listen here. One is observable, one is observer, and one is operator. Okay, these are the three terms you will come across. Let's understand one by one. Operator. Okay, what is observable? So let's assume I have a system. Okay, let's say this is a Twitter system. Okay, Twitter. Now you are one of the person who is actually belong to the Twitter. Let's say you have actually created an account in your Twitter, right? So this is me. Okay, and you have some friends who are following you. Okay, and there are some other friends, not other friends, there are other people as well. Correct? So according to the what you say publisher subscriber model, what you do is your job is to produce a data. Okay, you are going to publish. Let's say you are going to send a hello in your post. You are saying hello everyone, some kind of a post, right? So you are actually publishing one data, and this data I will consider as a observable type data. Okay, this data I will consider as a observable type. Observable is nothing but it's a representation of set of value, nothing else. It is a representation of a value. What is observable? Representation of set of values. Okay, so I am going to publish one data. Now you have friends available in who are actually following you. Let's say F1, this is your friend 2, F2, this is F3, and this is, let's say, unknown. I mean, I don't know. These are other people in the Twitter. Now what happens is when you publish anything, there is an observer who is observing your data. Okay, who is the observer? The observer is nothing but he is observing what you are what you have published, what you have posted in your wall. Okay, now this observer has 3 callback methods. This observer has 3 callback methods. One is called as a next. Next means a new any success post which you do. Okay, it's a one block or one function. Then you have a error, which talks about if you're posting any error. I mean, due to any reason, if you're posting any error. And the third one is complete. Complete means you are now saying that I am actually done with the publishing of information. Now this is the end of my information. So consider that this hello what you're sending is a stream of data. It's keep coming in. I mean, you keep sending the data one by one. You keep publishing some data like a YouTube. Okay, it's a stream. It's a streaming. Now because there is an observer here, what happens is this observer and your friends are subscribed to you, right? This observer will be notified to each of your friends who are subscribed to you. Okay, understand this very clearly. So all your friends are going to get subscribed here. So all your friends will get notification because they are subscribed to you. Oh, what I did. 1 second. Yeah, Control C. All your friends will get each copy of message. Okay, why they are going to get it? Because they are subscribed or they are following you. Others will not get it. Right? The day when they are going to, any of them are going to unsubscribe it, they will not get any notification. This is clear, everyone? Okay, so let's understand it again one more time. Observable is nothing but it's basically producing a data. Okay, it's this data can be observed by someone. That's why we call it as observable data. Okay, that's why we call it as observable data. And this observable data is being listened by the observer. So observer is going to listen your data and it will notify the subscribers. It will automatically notify the subscribers. All your friends who are attached to you will get notification. Clear? Okay. Now there is one more thing, operator. Now what is this operator? Now operator is nothing but, let's say you are sending an hello. Okay. But my friends should see that message in capital letter hello. Everyone should get a message as a capital letter hello. Now what I can do? One way is I can handle this, convert this case from lower to upper at each subscriber end. Correct? Once I get the response, I can just convert that into uppercase. But that's like everyone has to do it. But I want that everyone should get the same information. So in that case, what I can do is I can bring in one operator in between. Now the job of the operator is to manipulate your data and then send the updated data to the subscriber. Make sense? What is the job of the operator? To manipulate your data, to modify your data or to filter your data and then send it to the actual subscriber. So that subscriber will get the filtered output, the final output, not the raw output. Is it clear? So let's write the definition here. Observable is nothing but it's basically what you call a function. Actually, in terms of this thing, it's a function that can return stream of value over the time. Okay, it can return the stream of value over the time. So it is, that's why we call it a producer. Okay. Now that data, which is that stream of values, those values which I am talking about, values can range from 0 to infinity. 0 to infinity. That means I can keep on sending it. No stop to that. Okay. But only one thing, the problem with observable is observable needs a subscriber. Then only it will publish the data. For example, if I don't have any of my friends, then what is the use of publishing the data? What is the use of posting in the wall if there is no friends at all? Who is going to see that? Correct? So publish, the observers are also called as a lazy. Observables are called lazy because if there is no subscriber, it will not publish data. Okay, I'm just trying to write in a very simple language. Okay, you will have a better definitions available. Clear? Now comes the observer. Now what is observer? I said who is listening to your data, right? So observers are nothing but these are the one that listen to your data or produced data and notify the subscribers. Okay, it will just notify all the subscribers. Clear? So this observers has a 3 callback function. It has 3 callback function. One is next. Next is basically, you can call it as a success information. Success information. Error is basically, it's a callback function which will return me if there is any error coming from the source, it will give me error information. And complete is basically a flag indicating end of stream. It's a flag saying that no more data is going to come. It's a last. It's like a finally block. Clear? So observer is basically has a 3 set of callbacks, which are basically, and these callbacks are basically talks about different type of data which is delivered from the observable. Okay, it talks about different notifications, I would say, delivered by observable. So whatever observable is delivering, it will just based on the success. If it's a success data, it will go into the success block. If it's a error, it will go into the error block. What is stream of data exactly mean? Stream of data is nothing but it's a continuous flow of information. For example, if you work on IoT systems, right, IoT devices and all, what happens? You just use that IoT devices and that messages keeps getting transferred to your, maybe let's say cloud or some other thing, right? What happens? Someone is keep on pushing the data from the source. Clear? These are nothing but these are the functions that takes one observable as an input and returns another observable after manipulations. Okay. And basically what happens, you can have a multiple operators. There are a huge list of operators available to do different work. Okay. But all these operators can be combined with the help of pipe. So there is a pipe function available whose job is to add all the observers together one by one. So let's say I have operator 1. Okay, I'll apply it here. Then I have operator 2. Then I have operator 3. So I'll keep on applying all the operators, because let's say one is I wanted to change the data into uppercase. Then I'll say I wanted to change the filter the data. Then I'll say I wanted to do something else. So I'll keep on applying the operator with the help of this pipe function. Is it clear? Does operator is similar to the pipes which is used to transform the data? It's not about that. One is only for transforming the data before displaying on the UI, right? This is basically now whatever the data is which is coming from the source, I am manipulating that data and giving you the final result. Okay, let's say there is a source, and that source could be anything. It can be any it can be API or anything else, right? So from that source I'm going to publish the data and it will get notified to the subscriber. Clear? Okay, let's see a little bit of action, then you'll understand it. Okay, I'll just try to show one example here. ng gc, let's say observable sample. And let's quickly add it in the menu and the this thing, routing. Copy, paste, observable. Okay. So I have created this. Now what I'm going to do is I'll take a very simple example, guys, to make you understand what that observable does. Okay, and how it works. So I'll be creating here, let's say observable data, which is of type observable. Now this observable is basically an observable of type string. Okay, this is available as observable of type string. And I'll also say as a undefined. Okay, now I'm going to create two buttons here. Input type button, click, create. Okay, one is create, value equal to create, and here I'll say class ptn hyphen primary. Okay, I'll be going to create one more button. Here, fetch or read. Okay, I wanted to read the data. Okay, so let's create these two functions, create and fetch. Okay, now what is the job of create? Create is basically going to produce the data, right? According to the diagram, someone is going to produce the data, right? Let's take that producing of data is done by this create button. So here what I'll do is I'll just say observable data equal to new observable, and that is of type string, because I'm going to deal with the string right now. And inside this, I'm going to generate the data. Now for generating the data, what you do is you basically have one next block which can send the data. So let's try to send the data. I'll say I wanted to send the data as a test1. Okay. Similarly, I'll send one more data, test2. Done. So when I click on this button, it is going to generate the data. So observable data is going to produce it. Right? Now what is the job of the second step? So I said the second is going to observer. Now this observer is like an arbitrary thing. I mean, it's not real. The real is basically directly the subscriber. In subscriber, you have an observer who is going to observe you that type of a data. Okay. So here what I am going to do is, here I'll say, I am going to, whenever there is an observable type, you have a method called as a subscribe. You automatically get a method called as a subscribe. Now in subscribe, I said there are observer, right? So I can create a let observer equal to, so observer has 3 blocks, next, which is going to give me the response. Okay. Then you have a comma. What is wrong? Next. Okay, it's any, yeah. Next is error, which is going to give me error. And last one is complete. Okay, complete doesn't have any argument. Okay, so these are the 3 different types of. Okay, this is like an observer, because now whatever is being produced. Okay, so this observer is going to listen to that data, right? And the same information the subscriber will get it. So now here I'll just get this OB here. I'll pass that OB here directly. Okay, let's see. So what now? See what I'm doing here, guys. Console.log. I'll just try to print. Let's say item equal to response. I just printing that error. Sorry, printing the message. Here I'll just say, because it's an error, I'll say error occurred, and I'll just print that error directly here. And here I'll just say end of stream, end of data, or end of stream. Just a message. Done. Now see what is going to happen, guys. So I have 2 buttons. Stop here. And see the console here. F12. Click. So now I have produced the data. Now when I click on fetch, you will see I'm able to read one by one the data. Now it is so fast that you didn't even find that it is actually working like a stream, right? So I will just try to make it like a stream. So for making this data as a stream, what I can do, I can make use of set interval. Okay, see guys what I'm doing here. Set interval. Interval. Okay, set interval has a basically a block, and I have a time. So I'll say after every 1 second, it will keep sending the data. After every 1 second, it will keep sending a new data. See. Next. And I'll just say test. Just to make a unique data, what I'll do, I'll just add math.random. Just to make a data unique. Okay. Now see what is going to happen. When I click on this create and when I click on this fetch, every 1 second you will see a data getting pushed. Now why I'm able to read that data? Where exactly the reading is happening? At the subscriber end. Because when the producer is producing the data, because I am subscribed to it, because I'm subscribed to that observable, I keep getting notification. This block keep getting executed. Okay. Yeah, wait, Sachin. I'll talk by the end of stream. So this will keep continuing. There is no stop to it. Okay. Now I want to just showcase how can I stop it. Now just to stop it, what I can do is, because I don't have any real example, right, to show the stream. What I'll do is I'll use a set timeout, and here I'll say after approximate 10 seconds, I will just call ob.complete. Okay, after approximate 10 seconds, I am going to call, I did make a mistake with the braces. Yeah, I will just call ob.complete format. So now see what is going to happen. Create and fetch. So we'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and after 10 seconds, you will see it is going to stop. Because I set a notification from the source saying that end of data. So automatically the subscriber got a information, got a notification saying that it's done. So automatically it went into this block. Clear? Okay. Understood till now? Okay, now if there is an error, let's say after 5, I'll just make time little less, 5 seconds. If I want to send an error, so let's say I am sending an error, I'll say, oops, error. This is an error for me, right? I'm sending the error information. Now if I just check here, after 5 seconds, you will see it is going to go into the error block. Is it clear? Okay. Now, this much is clear. Now, understand this. Any questions here till now? I could see some questions. I'll just wait for some time, guys. Now let's understand where can we apply the operator. Let me just apply the operator in between. So operator is nothing but I'll just add one more button here. And here I'll say operator. Operate. Let's create that function, operate. What I said the definition of operator, it will take one input as observable and it will return me the new observable data, right? And I can do some manipulation. So what I want, what kind of manipulation I want, whatever the data I could see here, right? This data should be in uppercase. So to do that, what I'll do is I will include one of the operator called as a pipe. Sorry, not operator. I will include one of the operator called as a map. But all these operators will be inside this pipe method only. So I'm going to call one operator called as a map. You can see it, the map has been included on the top. It will be as a part of RxJS. Okay. Now what is the job of this map operator? It will take the input and it will give me the output, let's say in uppercase. This is one of the operator. Now see what is going to happen. I click here and I click, without operator I click, you will see the data is in the same case, right? Now what I'll do is, I'll click again and I'll click on operator, or maybe I can refresh it. I click here and I click on operator. Now I click on this fetch, you will see the data is in now uppercase because I have now manipulated my data before reaching my subscriber. So in operator, what I did, I take that observable data as an input and return the new observable data. So I'm just assigning to the same object. This is one of the operator I'm talking about. There are a huge list of operators. Maybe I'll say I wanted to have an operator which will say take only 3 records. This is another operator. Okay, I have included on the top take. So it will say take only 3 records. Now, even though there are 10 to 12 records, right? But you will see it will only give me 3 records. Done. Rest all records are gone. Because I have filtered that. Make sense, everyone? Okay, so there are a huge list of operators. I cannot show you each and every operator, but what is the job of operator? So you can keep on adding the operator comma separated. Inside this pipe sign, you can keep on adding the operators. First operator will be applied on this one, then it will apply the second. It will go in a sequential way. Clear? And the third operator, let's say I'll talk about the retry. Now what is this retry operator? Very, very powerful. The retry operator is nothing but what it will do if there is an error sent from the source. It will retry the call and it will retry how many times? 3 times. Let me just make it 2 times. So see here guys, click, operator, fetch. See? Oh, there is no error, right? I need to produce an error. So I'll just do one thing. Oh, we have already produced the error. 1 second. Oh, 1 second. I need to remove this take because it is not going to run for that n number of times. Okay, I'll just take this take 2 and let's check. Click and see here now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there is an error. After 5 seconds I was throwing. So again it will just retry. It's a retry call. Again, this is the first retry and this is the second retry. Still my error is not resolved. Now it will go and show me error saying that error occurred. This is very helpful when you make a API calls. Let's say there is a little slide network issue or something. You can make a retry call and you can again go and make a API calls. So the retry is very, very helpful in that case. And retry can also be done with the conditions. Retry only if this error is occurred, then only retry it, else don't. That also I can do it. Okay, this retry will come into picture only when there is an error coming from the source. If there is no error, then it will go successfully. Clear? Everyone? Okay, now one thing, now this observable, what I'm showing you, right? These observables are also called as a unicast. Instead of doing it this way, you can also do this whole thing inside this block. Both are fine. Okay, there are two subscribes here. Is it clear? I'll just make a difference. I'll just say fetch to item. Fetch to, better I'll say subscriber 2. This is subscriber 2. This is subscriber 2. And this is subscriber 1. This is subscriber 1. This is subscriber 1. Okay. Now in this case, what you will observe here is in this case, what you will observe is when I click on publish, right? It has published the data. When I click on fetch, you will see it is fetching the data. When I click on second subscriber, it will again start from the beginning to fetch the data. Okay, listen carefully. When even the subscriber is, there are two subscribers, it will always start from beginning when it comes to observable. So each subscriber gets an independent instance of observable. Okay, each subscriber will get each subscriber gets independent instance of observable. That's why every time it is starting from the 0. Okay, now there is another type of observable called as a subject. Okay, we'll talk about where is the use case of the subjects, but subjects are basically called as a multicast by nature subject. Okay, it's again observable type. It's a special type of observable. It's a special type of observable that allows multicast to multiple observers. I'll just show you an example here. Multiple observers. Okay, this was only returning to one observers, and that this is going to return to multiple observers. Okay, so only one execution will happen for multiple observers. So let's see how this is going to work. And other important point about this subject is it acts like a producer as well as listener. So as well as subscriber. It acts both producer and subscriber. Okay. It can also emit the values like event emitter. Let's see an example, you'll understand it here. See, this one I was talking about the observable, right? So I'll just keep it observable. Now I'll just make use of subject. Okay, so for subject, what I'll do is I will again have a button, same thing, same logic. I'll do it. See, there is a separate type called as a subject data, which is of type subject. Okay, I'll just make it as a string type, and also I'll say uni. Now, when you create an observable data doesn't have any method as such. That like if you try to just say ob this dot observable data dot, you can see it has only pipe, subscribe, and for each method. You cannot emit any data. You cannot send any data or produce any data. This can be produced only inside this block, right? But with subject, as I said, it is also acting like a producer as well as consumer or the subscriber. So see what is going to happen. This, I'll just comment out this line and I'll use the same line here, but this time I'm going to say subject equal to new subject string. Okay. Now this subject has a way to send the data. Next one. This dot subject data dot next test2. I can keep on sending it whenever it's required. Okay. Reading the response is again the same way. Reading the response is again the same way. Only thing is that what I'll do is instead of observable data here, I will make use of, see guys, very important is, I'll just comment out this one and here it would be subject data. Rest all remains the same. Okay. Same thing, I will apply it here. Instead of this, I'll say subject data. See what is going to happen now. I click here and I will click on fetch. You will see no data has been produced. Okay, but now if I click here, one second, what is wrong here? I'm producing the data. You see any problem here? No, so okay. So I'm able to produce it, right? So and I'm able to consume. So now why it's not showing me new subject? Fine. Acha, okay, okay. Let me just create the instance here itself. In the constructor maybe. Okay, see. Let's try now. I click on observable and then I create it. Can you see? Okay, just listen, see here carefully. I click on create and then I click on observable. You will see no data is produced. Now, what is the problem with the subject is subject. If you see in observable, what was happening? It was generating the whole data again. It was producing the whole, consuming the whole data again, which is produced by the observable. But in case of subject, it will take only the latest value. Subject takes the latest value which is been published. So if you see, when I created it and when I observe it, there is no data available. Create, publish, no data available. But if I keep my subscriber on and then I try to create it, you will see it is able to get the data. Are you following, guys? Okay, so what is happening here is, you see this, I'll just refresh it again. Now I'll just create the consumer. The subject object is already created, right? I'm just creating publisher, subscriber. I'm clicking this subscriber as well. That now there are two subscribers attached. Now if I click on create, you will see two messages are being read here. Why? Because I'm already subscribed to the subject and now I am producing the message. So automatically I get the latest message. I'll give you the real-time example where this kind of things are used. Okay, so subscriber, so observable is nothing but it's basically called as a unicast, because it only can produce the data for one subscriber. If you have a multiple subscriber, you are going to have a subject used. So at a time, you want to send the information to multiple subscribers. So here I was showing with the example of observable, right? But in this scenario, when you want to produce to multiple, you have to use a subject. Subject is also type of observable. You have to use subject. Okay, you guys are not getting it. Is it that the subject emits only the after subscription while observable emits before subscription? No, no, Subbu, not this way. You guys are getting confused. Okay, wait, let me just explain it. Subject. Okay, the subject example I can take it with a one different scenario, because in real time scenario where exactly you guys use subject, I can show it with that one. Okay, so just again I'll try to explain here. Maybe let's try to make it a little simple. When you use observable, observable is only produced to one subscriber. It can only produce the data to one subscriber. Okay, if there are multiple subscribers attached to any observable, that observable should be of type subject. The observable should be of type subject. Then what will happen is the subject can send the notification to all the subscribers automatically. To multiple subscribers, you can send the data. That's what I written here. See, to multiple observers. When I say observers, these are basically the subscribers, huh? Subscribers, because observers means who is someone is observing it. Okay. Now another important thing about this subject was it can produce the data as well as it can consume the data. The consume is nothing but it is already doing it here, but it can also produce it. So you can see there is a next block available, next method available. This next method is not available with the observable data. This method is not available with observables. More powerful, the subject is more powerful as compared to the observable data. Okay, this is clear. And the third point here is when I'm producing the data, if you see an example where I was trying to click on create and then I was trying to create observable, earlier one, I was actually getting the data. Why? Because the data has been produced by the observable. Now I am subscribing it and I'm reading it. I'm consuming it. Okay, but the same case is not with the subject. In subject, what you get the latest value only. So if you click on create and if you try to read it, you will not get the latest value. Okay, but if you are already subscribed to it and now if you create it, every time you keep sending, you get the latest value. Okay, makes sense? Every time you get the latest value. I'll show you how this is going to work in real time. Now, same like a subject, there is also called as a behavior subject. These are little confused topics, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so behavior subject is what? Again, it's the same thing. It's like a subject only. But in behavior subject, you can have initial value. You can set initial value. Okay. Here you cannot have an initial value. In this case, you have an initial value. Let me just make it clear here. If I have a behavior subject, B subject data, and I'll just have a behavior subject. Okay. So when you create an instance of a behavior subject, you will see you have to provide the initial value. It is always going to have an initial value available. Let's say the initial value, I'll set it as a test 0. Okay. And now instead of subject data, I'll just say produce behavior subject data. Okay, let me comment out this. Okay, test 1, test 2, and there is always a test 0. And now wherever there is a subject data, I'll just use it with the B subject data. Here as well and here as well. Okay, and let's try it. Now we will see when I click on create. Okay, and when I click on this, what do you get here? You got the last value. So behavior subject keeps the last value which is there and it considers that as the initial value. See guys, again, if I click on create, it has produced the data, right? But what is the use case of behavior subject? Behavior subject can keep the initial value, and the initial value for me is latest and the last one. So for me, the last one is test 2. So it is maintaining the test 2 for me. See, it's maintaining the test 2 for me. Okay, and now if I try to just click on this observable, you will see by default test 0 is coming. I'm not clicking on create. I'll just say this. So what is happening is in behavior subject, it can maintain the latest value available. It can maintain the latest value, last value which has been published. Okay, the published is nothing but this one, create. I'll just give the name as produce, just to be very. because it's producing, right? I'll say produce. And this is basically consuming. Right? Makes sense? Subject is also taking the latest value. No, in subject you will take the latest value, but if I'm if I'm subscribing it later, I'll not get the latest value. If I say I am publishing the data and now I'm trying to subscribe it. Okay, so let's say there is already where is my cursor? Let's say I'm producing the data and now I'm trying to subscribe. In this case, what will happen is it will not have the latest because the two data are already been produced. So there is no latest value available. But in behavior subject, what was happening? In behavior subject, it was maintaining the last value which was produced. That's why even though if I'm producing it first time and then I'm clicking on it, you at least get the latest last value available. And if you again click on the other one, this is second subscription, right? Both subscription are getting the last value. Clear? Make sense? Okay, and there is a third one. Okay, third one is replay subject. Replay subject has a provision to maintain a buffer size. It can maintain a buffer size. Same thing guys. Huh? It's the same thing, but only difference here is when I create a replay subject, R subject data, which is of type replay subject, I'll again keep it as a string only, undefined. And here I'll just say this dot R subject equal to new replace subject string. You get a buffer size wherein I can say, okay, I want to keep a buffer of 2. That means it will now able to maintain the last 2 data from the producer, like from the published data. Getting? So now in this case, see what is going to happen. So instead of B subject, I'll just say R subject. Oh, sorry. R. Okay, I'll just say 1, just to be 2, and I'll keep few more. 3, 4. I'm sending 4, publishing 4 data. 3, 4. Okay. Now let me just try to read it. R. And here also I'll try to read it. R. Clear? Now see. If I click on observable, or maybe if I click on produce, the data has been produced, but it can maintain how many data now? Because I have given a buffer size of 2, you can see the last 2 data are available here. Same way, another subscriber comes into picture. He also wants to subscribe, so he also subscribing it. He also gets the last 2 values. Make sense? Understood the difference? Behavior subject was doing what? It was maintaining only the latest last value. Replay subject was maintaining the buffer size which I'm providing. So I want that last 5 messages which has been produced should be maintained. So it can maintain that 5 messages which has been sent. So that's the size you are going to provide here. The more the size, it is going to create an impact. Right? And the subject is what? It will only leave the latest value. And observable is what? Observable is only the problem wherein you cannot publish the data. Observable doesn't have a provision to publish the data at any time. But other one has a next block, but you are not having a next block. In fact, you can also send the error. Someone is asking like, how can we send the error? So same like next block, I can also send the error block as well. If I want to send as an error, I'll say my error. Now automatically whoever is going to subscribe it, that they will get an error and it will go into the error block. So you can see last 2 items and then went into the error. Last 2 items and went into the error. Could you please, okay. For subject and this, everyone you want to see with this, I'll keep as an initial value as 0. Okay, when I'm producing it, I'll make sure that I produced 1, 2, maybe I'll just keep 3 as well. 3. Okay, maybe I made a confusion with this words like this data, right? Just let's play with the 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. I'll keep this aside for a moment and also keep this one aside. Okay, let's see what is happening here, guys. I'll better name it as a consumer 1 and consumer 2. Okay, see, I produced it. I'm using subject here. Okay, see here, I'm using subject. I'm talking about the subject right now. So the here it will be subject and here it will be subject. Okay, I produce the data. You will see no data is available. Why? Because the data has been already produced. 3 data has already been produced here. So the subscriber was not ready by that time. Now after producing 1, 2, 3, now I am applying for the subscription. So obviously I don't have any data, latest data available, so it will not show. If I was already subscribed to it, then I could have got this 1, 2, 3 available. So same example, see here. I'm not clicking on the produce, I'm just clicking on the consumer. Now I am already subscribed to subject, right? Now if I produce it, you will see all 3 values are there. This is 3, I messages as a 2. If I again click on consumer 2, still he is not going to get it because he is now subscribing it. He will not get it, see. That's the problem with the subject. Clear? That's the problem with the subject. Now, let's comment out this and let's use the behavior subject. When I use a behavior subject, I'll just say B and here also I'll say B. Behavior subject maintains what? At least one data. So what is the initial one data? That was 0 when I load it. So now if I produce it and then subscribe it, it has produced 1, 2, 3, right? And what was last data available? 3. It has maintained that 3 here. Again, if I produce one more, and again if I click on consume 2, it will get that latest one only. It can maintain the latest value, right? And same case, if I'm not clicking on produce and directly clicking on consumer, it will get 0 because there is already a value 0 as an initial value, right? That is a behavior. Now, when it comes to replay subject can maintain the number of data based on what you're providing, the buffer size. I want the buffer size to be 2 or maybe 3. So it will maintain the 3 size, and in fact, you can maintain the time as well. You can say, please maintain this buffer size for a window time of 1 second or 1 minute. So it will maintain the data for 1 minute for you. I think it's 1 second, millisecond. So here you can provide the time as well. So see how long you want to maintain that buffer size. So I'm saying maintain the last 3 records, right? Last 3 published data. So it will say keep that last 3 published data for this much time. After that, it will be gone. Okay, that provision you get it here. Clear, everyone? Okay, I know little bit confusion is there. I can understand it because this is totally a different subject, but understand that what is the purpose here? The purpose here is one is you have observable. When I say observable are 4 types now. One observable itself, one is a subject, one is a behavior subject, and the last one is replay subject. All are observables only. Okay, the subject, behavior subject, and the replay subject has a provision to produce the data as well. It can produce the data at any moment of time, like an event emitter. It can emit the data for you anytime. But observable data cannot do that. Observable cannot do that because observable don't have a provision for as a next block, next method. So if you see, if I try to say ob.observable data dot, you will not get next. So observable can only create the data when it is actually creating the instance of it. At that moment itself, it can create the data. Clear? And the operator will always be in the same place. Like the job of the operator would be to just modify the data. Whatever the data is coming, just modify it and send it to the as a last. Okay? Clear? Okay. Now, why we need all these things? Because in Angular, RxJS is a part of my Angular core project. So some of the features of this RxJS, we are going to use it here. Okay, why I'm talking about all these things? Because when I'm going to make a call to my HTTP web API, right? For my form, for my submitting the form, or for loading my product data from the database, I need some HTTP. I need to make a HTTP request, right, to the web API. So web API will get called and it will give me a response. Those web API, the HTTP request which I'm going to create, those are always going to return me observable type data. Those are always going to return me observable type data. That's the reason we are trying to understand this observable. We are, Kamlesh, we are going to see where exactly this observable is going to picture. Wherever you will see observable type data, you will have to have a subscribe method implemented. Okay, so whenever I'm going to make a HTTP request to the server for API calls, it is going to return me by default observable in RxJS. And that is why we need to understand this. Clear? Okay, I'll give a use case where we can use this. When I'm actually going to create it, we'll see that. Maybe tomorrow we'll see that. Okay, when we create a API calls, right? I'm going to make a service and I'm going to create that. So in that case, one data which is going to get produced from whatever I'm going to get as a response from the API, that will be only one next block. One next block is nothing but one set of data. So whenever I'm producing the data, this one next is one data for me, one data. So publisher is producing the data. So this is a publisher, and let's say this is a subscriber. When producer is producing the data, it calls a next block to produce. And if I want to read this data at the subscriber end, I need to handle this next callback. Same way, when producer is producing the error, it has an error block, error method to call, and it will pass the error value. When I want to read that error at the subscriber end, I need to handle error callback. That's why you see these three methods called here: next, error, and even I can produce as I can say complete as well. So if you see, same like next, you have complete as well. Let me show you. This dot, all these subjects and everything has a complete as well. This dot r subject dot complete. So this will say, I'm done. This was the last information I have sent. Just notify your subscriber. So subscriber can take action based on that. So subscriber will get to know, oh, this is the last data. So it will automatically execute this block. Now subscriber can do some activity, right? Because it know that now no more data is going to come. Can you explain ng template also? Ng template where observable. Replay and behavior subjects, both are one and the same. Only thing is that it can maintain the, one is maintaining the latest value and one is able to maintain the list of buffer values. I mean, a list of values based on whatever I mentioned. So if you want to maintain, let's say you're producing one data and you wanted that I want the latest 5 records which has been produced. So I will make sure I'll make use of replay so that I can have that latest 5 messages available for me for the subscriber. So whenever the subscriber is going to get subscribed to that replay subject, he will always get the last 5 data. Okay, but in case of behavior, it will get only the latest last data, what latest data is there. But if you use the subject, it will not get a new data if his subscribe is later, at later stage. If he is already subscribed before, he will always get the data. But if he is subscribing later, then it will always get the data which has been published later on. Whatever is being produced earlier, those data he will, or that subscriber will never get it. He will get only the latest one which is getting produced later on. Clear? It keeps on sending the data. So how do I replicate that scenario? By using set interval. So every 1 second it keeps on sending the data. Correct? That way I can send it. Same way I can do it for here as well. Huh? I can set timeout and I can keep on sending the data. And I can stop it in between. So I can do it for subject as well. I can do it for behavior subject as well as R subject. Correct? Because it's the same pattern. What I'm doing is I'm just calling the next block. So here you get an option to call the next block, but here you will not get an option to call a next block. It's getting called within the while creating the object itself. Clear? Understood? So in behavior subject, and it can maintain the buffer size in the value. I'll put more definition to it, but yeah, this is how it is going to work. And all are going to act like a multicast. Multicast means one observable can be subscribed by multiple people, multiple consumers, or multiple subscribers. All are one and the same. Yes, Ravindra, you raised a hand. What is as well? Okay. Now, whenever you subscribe to anything, you always have the option to unsubscribe as well. So anytime if you feel like unsubscribing, what you need to do is this object which you have created has to be assigned to a subscription object. I'll show you when I call API. I'll show you, and then you can always have a method called as unsubscribe, so that you can unsubscribe it. So in between, whenever you feel like unsubscribing, you can automatically unsubscribe it. So automatically your data will get stopped. No data will be produced anymore. That provision you get it here. Clear? You can run this one and you can see how these things are working. Yeah, we'll talk about this when we asynchronous programming, when we deal with the observable stream. Okay. Now, what is these observable streams? Basically, observable streams means it is basically a representation of your data. I mean, it's a kind of a representation of a data, right? And these observables are basically, just 1 second. Let's open this paint as well. It can return a stream of value. So when I say observable, it can be a stream of value. It can keep on sending the values over the time. Okay, and that's why it said it can range from 0 to infinity. Okay, so I can send the data from 0 to infinity here. Now, what this observable type data can do is this observable data can be subscribed. Okay, though this observable data can be subscribed. For example, if I want to have, if someone is sending this data, so let's say there is a source who is sending this data, that data, if I want to read it, if I want to consume it, someone is sending in the sense I will talk it as a produce. Someone is producing the data, someone can consume it only by subscribing it. Okay, if I want to consume it, I need to subscribe to that observable. Then only I'll be able to read the data. Right? So what will happen is in this case, no matter how many data it is producing, consumer don't have to pull the data again and again because it is already been subscribed. It will keep getting that notification continuously. Continuously, it will keep getting notification. That is what is observable all about. Okay, to read that data, how it is going to get that notification? Because there is an observer in between. Okay, so you will not see that observer as such, but that observer is doing what? It is keep on listening to whether there's a data coming from the producer. If it is producing the data, the job of the observer is what? The job of the observer is to listen to that produced data and notify the subscriber. Notify the subscribers, right? So that produced of data has a 3 different functions, callback functions, which talks about different ways of notification. So one of the notification which can come from the producer is a success information. It's a normal information. Second is it's a error information. And the third is it's a flag indicating that it's the end of stream. So that means my producer is no more going to send any data that I can get to know in the complete block. Okay, that callback method is basically going to handle that situation. Clear? And when you have this observer and observer, you have in between an operator whose job is to modify the data before reaching that subscriber. Before the subscriber can read or the consumer can read that data, I will just modify, do the modification in between, so that I don't have to do that changes at the consumer end. A simple example would be I received a magazine, okay, and there is one page which needs to be updated. Let's say I'm purchasing a magazine, annual magazine. I'm done a subscription of annual magazine. Okay, so the company is going to send me the magazine every month. Okay, what if that magazine has to have some changes? I need to do some modification in the magazine once it reaches me. Okay, so if that's the case, that every person who is subscribed to that magazine will have to do that change. Okay, making sense? Or maybe I can take I need to pay extra money. Okay, I need to send a money after the magazine reaches to me. So that thing has to be done by every consumer. So instead of that, what if I do that job of taking that money well before reaching the consumer, so that that job doesn't rely on the consumer end. It is in between. It has been handled, and then the final result is going to become at your consumer end or the subscriber end. Okay, that's the job of the operators. So operators can be multiple operators you can apply, like there are n number of operators available. If you see our example, I already ran the program. Let me quickly go. So if you see, when I produce it, I click here, operator and consumes. So my operator was doing what? I think I'm 1 second. We took an example of I'll just quickly check. Okay, my operator is actually still relying on the observable data. If it and I was I commented the observable data. Okay, the data can be any type. Okay, there are 4 types of observables here. See, produced, operator, and consume. Still, I am missing something. Commented, fetched. Acha, this one is required. And here also observable data is required. Okay, so produce, operator, and consume. Yeah, see, my data is converted into uppercase because my operator said what? Operator said before reaching the subscriber, please convert it to uppercase and then send it. Okay, same way, operator can be anything like I will say I want only 2 records to be sent. Take only 2 records. Or I'll say only filter the records. There is a filter operator as well. Wherein I'll say, okay, take the record which is less than 1. Okay, for example, now these are strings, right? So I'll say take the data which is only starts with P. Okay, I'll just change the test as a pest for a moment, and I'll say, okay, please change the data which starts with P. So I'll say here index of P, right, not equal to -1. Only that data needs to be transferred to the consumer or the subscriber. So now if you see, what is the condition failing? Filter. Oh, it should be uppercase because that data is not available because I already my first pipe has already converted that data into uppercase. Now that data I need to filter it. So now you will see operator and P. See, other data will never be sent. Why? Because my filter said only give the consumer the one which is starting with P. Make sense? And then this is nothing but it is actually our error block. I mean, I also used a retry, right? So it is failing, so it will retry every time. See, this retry is getting executed. That's why it is showing me 3 times. Make sense? So there are different types of observable, guys. Okay, the first observable is a default observable. The second observable is called as a subject. Now, subject is a special type of observable which allows multicast to multiple observers. So this the observable which I was talking about, right? This will only pass on to the one. So there is one producer and there will be only one subscriber. Okay, the publisher and the subscriber. So observable is only going to send it to one. That's a unicast. Okay, when I use a subject, it can send to multiple. At a time, it can send to multiple and it can send the latest value. Okay, it can send the latest value. For example, I am using a screen. Okay, one subscriber is there. Listen carefully. Okay, and I'm using subject. So when I publish any data, one subscriber, because already attached to the subject type, it can read the data. Okay, if I add a new one, let's say on a click of another button, I'm adding a new subscriber. That person will not get that old data because it will only give me the latest record only. So you can see it will always give me the latest record. Right? Okay, but the same thing, if I deal with the behavior subject, which is again a regular subject itself, that means it's again observable. it can maintain an initial value. For example, same example I'll take. Instead of subject, if there is a behavior subject. So behavior subject, because it is maintaining one initial value, always you will find at least one value available. So no matter if you're subscribing that behavior subject, you will always get one value. Okay, and let's say on a click of a button, I'm subscribing another one. That person will get at least the latest value which was already subscribed earlier. At least one value will always be available for this when we attach the behavior subject. Yeah, these are all in memory. These are all happening in memory. Okay, and the replay subject is having a little more power. It's again a regular subject, but it can hold X number of values. That buffer size I can provide. So if you see, I have given a buffer size here, saying that please hold the last 3 values. Okay, so for example, today I am subscribing. Tomorrow you are subscribing. Okay, tomorrow in the sense on some event I am subscribing. I will at least get the last 3 values which were already subscribed. So, which are already posted or published, because I already set the buffer size, and that size also have maintained with the time. So I can say for 1 second maintain that last 3 values. So for the last 3 values will be maintained in the, yeah, these are all front end guys. It can be on the front end. These are all what I'm talking here, right? Everything is in the front end. Okay. Everything is a front end, nothing to do with the back end. So you don't expect that if there is a change happening on the server, I'll get that notification automatically. No, these are all your UI. The UI, if let's say, I'll give you a common example here. See, I have a component, root component. I have a child component. I have another child. I have a child for this one. Then there is a child for this. Okay. The structure can be very complex, right? So this is the app component consuming this. Sorry. This is app component, right? This is, let's say, product component, and inside that product I have some child component. Let's say child 1. Inside the product, I'm having child, and this is, let's say, customer component. Inside that I have again some different child 2. Okay, the structure is this way. Now, what is going to happen is in this kind of a scenarios, just understand the importance here of subject, behavior, subject. What if I'm doing some activity here, okay, and I want to send a notification, I want to send a message to my customer, or maybe this one. Is it possible? If I use a parent child, I have to pass it to the parent. Parent will pass it to the root parent. Root parent will pass to the child, another branch, and then it will pass it, which is very difficult, right? If I use a service, services are not active. Like you do any activity, automatically your service will not be able to call it. What you want is, I clicked on some button here, automatically this component control should get disabled. See, in this case, your subject plays a major role, because in subject, what is you going to do? When you do any activity, you can send a next message, right? You'll say next, and you send a flag, let's say true. A message can be anything. So once you send that message, this child, if he is subscribed to that subject, automatically he will get a notification, right? And he can act on that. Correct? He can act on that. Same case, if that same subject is subscribed by the customer, he will also act on that. Automatically, it will be on the spot, right? That's the major advantage of using the subject. And instead of subject, if you use a behavior subject, what will happen? Let's say one subscriber is subscribed to it, so it will get the update. So it will update. It will act on that. But later on, I click on button. I am now subscribing to that behavior subject. But at least I know that last initial value available. So at least that based on that value, I can behave something, or maybe I can act on that, right? So that is the advantage here. Okay. Subject, behavior subject, and replay subject are one and the same. Only thing is that each one is having an advantage of holding some initial values, the last published value or the last produced value. Okay, one is last produced value, and one is going to hold a list of produced values. That number I can provide. Clear? Okay. Now see, guys, what I'm going to do. we are going to use that. We are going to see the subject, how we can use the subject in our projects. Okay. So for example, I'll quickly show you one example. See, if you see, where is our template driven form? I'll quickly, yeah, here. What is that template driven? Here. Okay. So in the template driven form, if you see, when I submit the button, when I click on this submit button, it is going to save the data in the database, right? And after saving the database, it is showing me alert. Now, what I want in my application is, I don't want to handle alert for each and every screen. Like, I don't want this alert to be shown in the screens. What I want is this alert should be shown at the central place only. And that I'll take as a root component. I want it in app component, the message should be displayed. Okay, so understand the scenario. So I wanted that all my messages throughout the application should be shown in my root component or the app component. Right? So I wanted the message should be shown in this div. Alert hyphen warning. Okay, I wanted all the messages should be displayed here in center. Here. Okay, so this you can see it's a root component. I can keep it and fix it at the bottom. So I wanted to fix it at the bottom. So I'll say fixed bottom. These are Bootstrap guys. So you can see it is fixed. Okay, so all the messages should be at the bottom. So for that, see how I'm going to make use of subject. Let's create a one service. Okay, now I'll tell you what do we mean by service. We have not talked about the service yet. I'm going to talk about the service after this. So I'm going to create a service. Okay. Message. I'm going to create a service called as a message service within the folder called as a. So we need to understand what is this service, right? We are not talked about this. So see here. Where is it? Here. Okay. Now services are basically a class which is having a decorator called as injectable. Okay. Because before understanding this, how can I show the message? Let's first understand what is this services. Services is a class which is having a decorator called as @injectable. So if I go back and add it in our list, we have one more injectable, that is, sorry, one more decorator, injectable. Okay. Now what is the job of these services? Let's understand that first. Why we use a service? Services are used to share common functionalities across components. Okay. What do you mean by that? Till now, we just talked about how can we pass the data from parent to child, child to parent, right? So what are the different ways? One is routing. Through the route, I can pass some data, or maybe through the input output or the view child, right? What if I want to pass the data from this component, the pipe component, to the template driven component, or from template driven component to this observable component? Because if you observe, when I load this template driven component and when I click on observable, my template driven gets destroyed. Template driven component gets destroyed. So still I need to maintain the data and pass it here. And that is where the services can play a role. Okay. What the services can do is, services can share that common functionality across the component. That means at the sibling level, you can pass the data. Okay. At the sibling level, you can easily pass the data. Why am I able to pass the data? Because it creates a singleton object by default. It creates a singleton object by default. Okay, so let's see how that is going to work. I'll keep this service aside for a moment because I need that service later. Okay, I'll just write the command as well. ng s for service and the service name. I'll keep this service aside. I'll create one dummy service. ng gs, let's say logger service. Within the service folder itself, I'm going to say logger service. Okay, we are going to write a logic for subject later on, but just let's understand the service first. Okay, So where is our service? Logger service. Now see guys, how that, let's try to understand how that singleton is going to look like. I have some private variable here, right? And here I'm going to say set name. I'm going to set a name. So let's say this dot name equal to nm. Okay, and console.log, I'll just say name is set. And then I will have one more method, get name, whose job is to read the name. So I'll say console.log name equal to this dot name. Okay. A simple two methods are there in this class. Okay. And now here I'll say console.log object created, because when the constructor is executed, that is where the object is created. Correct? Now, when we talk about services, services means what? A common definition of a service means someone provides the service, right? Like your internet provider. Someone is providing the service. Let's say I have a building here. Okay, this is my building. Okay, this is my flat building, and inside this building I have my flats. Let's say these are our flats. Okay, and now there is a service provider. Let's say Jio or Hathway. Let's say Hathway. Okay, he's a service provider. So he provides the internet to our building. So when I talk about the services, there are 4 steps involved. What are the steps? The first step is someone is creating the service, right? So someone has created this service, right? Now someone has to provide the service to get that connection in our building, right? So someone has to provide it. So provide. Now, if you want to have that service in your building, you have to inject that service. So we'll inject it. And then to actually, after injection, you are going to use it. Correct? The 4 steps are involved here. Create, provide, inject, and use. Right? Create, provide, inject, and use. Clear? Now, if one of the option is missing, your service is going to give an error. If one of the option is missing, that for example, I'll not do a provide. Obviously, if you are not providing it, how will you be able to inject or how will you be able to get that connection in your building? Does it make sense? Right? So same way here, how that now that whole thing what I'm trying to talk here, I'll try to explain it here. So I have created the service, this one, and now this line what you see here is doing the job of providing. This line is basically doing the job of providing. Okay, and now wherever I require, I will inject that service. Wherever I require, I can inject that service. This service has already been provided. If you see this root says that it is been provided in our app module. Okay, and now wherever required, let's try to inject it in our pipe sample. See guys, here I am going to inject that service. How do I inject it? I'll say logger service equal to inject logger service. And once I'm able to inject it, obviously I'll be able to use it. So let's try to just call this logger service set name. And here I'll just pass on some dummy name and I'll say math.random. Okay. So I am setting the name in pipe sample. Right? Now, how do I see whether it is creating a singleton object or not? To understand that, what I'll do is I will take one more component and I will again inject that service. So let's take an example of observable sample. Okay, here I will try to inject the same service. Logger service. Okay, and here I'll just call the get method, get name method. In the constructor itself, I'll do it. This dot logger service dot get name. Clear? So what I did in the pipe sample, I am setting the name, and in the observable sample, I am getting the name. Now let's see how this is going to look like. I press F12 here. I click on pipe. You can see it is showing me a message object created. It is showing me a message as object created. That means the object has been initialized and the name is already set because I'm calling in the constructor. Now, if I go to the observable, you will see I am actually getting the name. The name which was set in the pipe, the same name I am getting it. And you will also observe there is no object creator is getting called. The constructor is not getting called. That means it is using the same instance for both the components. Is it clear? Is everyone getting this? What we are trying to understand here? So one is the service is, so what is happening now? The object creation will happen only once, and rest all the time the same object will be shared. That's what is a singleton is all about. Right? Now if I what I said, if I remove after 3-4 steps, if I remove one of the step, let's say provide. So what I'll do is from the logger service, if I remove this line, see what is going to happen. It will throw me an error saying that no provider is. That means I'm not, who is providing that service? So someone has to provide that service, then only we'll be able to inject it. So I'm automatically getting an error. So what do we understand from this? That services are basically used, first of all, to transfer the data from one component to other component or to share the common functionalities. For example, any common functionality which you want to share across the components, right? Second is, it always creates a singleton object. That's why you are able to pass the data, transfer the data. It is able to transfer the data. Clear? Clear, everyone? So every time when I set the value, you can see. And now the thing is, that means my other building is also sharing the same object. So it is also provided here and it is also using the same object. So if someone is setting the value here, even this person is also going to get the same value, who is in another component. Clear? And if someone is setting here, he is also going to get the same value. So that is how the services are maintained. Okay. Now that provider, what you do right here, right? This here, I have removed it. This line can be added at the app module level also. So here, if you see, if I add it here, there was one section in the app module. If I add it here, you will see still the things are working. See, everything is working. Now, what is the difference between adding it over here and earlier it was somewhere here, written something here. Now this line, what you see, this got added after I think Angular 11 or 10 something, somewhere around 10 or 11. Now what is this? This is called as a tree shaking. This is called as a tree shaking. There is a concept called as a tree shaking. Okay. Now what is this tree shaking concept is? It's a compiler option. It's a compiler option. This line, what you see, it's a compiler option. Okay. To check if the service is referenced, if the service is not referenced anywhere, then remove the code from bundle. Okay. So earlier what was happening, guys? I mean, older version of Angular, what was happening? We used to provide the service at the component module level here. Okay, there was no line. This line was not there. This provided in line was not there. So what was happening is, if the service whichever is created, if I'm not using anywhere, I am just providing here, but I'm not at all using anywhere. So what used to happen? It is actually getting included in your bundle. The final JS which gets created, right? It was actually getting included in that bundle. Okay, no matter if it is used, if it is injected or not. Now what is going to happen is, this line is no more required. Now because of this line, what it will do is, the compiler, while compiling, it will find where all this service is being used. It is whether it is actually called or not. If it is called, then only it will include that code in the bundle. Else it will not include. Because of this, what will happen? Your size of the bundle will be reduced. Size of bundle is reduced and initial load performance is improved. Make sense? Now see, this is not one or two services. We are going to use, let's say, 100, 200 services, right? It's enterprise application. So unnecessary, we are not going to maintain that service, maintain that code if it is not referenced. Clear? Clear, everyone? Understood the importance. Now this service which I've created is by default global, right? Global in the sense it is singleton, but that same service can be used at the component level as well. So I can provide that service at the component level like this. Once I do this, this service is now considered as a local service. This service can be now considered. So now if you observe, when I click on the pipe, let me refresh it. When I click on the pipe, the object is created, the name is set, right? Perfect. But when I click on observable, you will see the name is not showing any value and the object created is showing again because observable is using global service which was there and pipe is using its own local service. Make sense? So if I want that my service is no more used by anyone else, I want that service is only for this component only. In that case, I will be using the providers over here at the component level. Okay. So what I'm saying here is, so when I want the service to be at the local level, local in the sense component level. So now same example, if I say I don't want this injection in providing to be happening here, I want that provider should be happening at the building level, each building. So there is a global provider. Okay. Now there will be another local provider here. Now what is going to happen is that provider is not going to impact your global provider. So the one which is provided globally, it's a separate service for me now. That's why you see when I clicked on the, I'll again see the console here, guys. When I click on the pipe, it shows the object is created, but this was a local object. When I click on observable, it again shows object is created. This is a global object. If I again click the pipe, every time when you click on the pipe, it will create an instance, local instance of it. Earlier, what was happening? When I was clicking here and there, still it was using only one object. The constructor was not getting called. Only one time it got called because it's a singleton. But now every time I click on pipe, it will have its own object. Okay. When the pipe is using that object, even the child of the pipe is going to use that local object. Clear? So the child, let's say I have injected here, right? A local provider. Now that component is having some child component and it is also having some other components. All this child component is going to share that local object only. They are not going to share the global. Is it clear? Everyone? Any question? Okay, I see some questions here. Okay, so major purpose of the services is to either create provide it globally or provide it locally. So if you are providing locally, you can just provide it at the component level. So obviously this component is going to share this service instance, and internally if there are many other components, for example, if you see in pipe sample we have some other components, all are going to share that same local instance. This one, they are not going to share the global instance. Clear? Okay, now let me just quickly check the questions here. Okay, apart from provided in root, so provided in root is by default available. Apart from provided in root, you have some provided in platform. Okay, usually when you don't use that platform right now, but it's when you're actually provided in when you say provided in root, it's basically applied in the root module, available in the root. Okay, there are only two options. How can you pass the data parent to the grandchild and everything through the services? Yeah, so because now service is creating a singleton object, right, throughout the application. So no matter if you are using it here, you are setting some data, even the sibling, even the child, everyone is sharing the same singleton object until you make sure that you are having its own local provider. Okay. Since we have passed the data among the component services, there now can be situation where go from input where we can go for input and output. See, input and output is only when there is a case of parent and child. Okay, services are like, it's a separate thing. You can even do with the services as well, no doubt. Services can also do that same job. It can replace actually the parent and child, the input and output. Okay, but the input and output is specifically when you say, okay, I wanted to restrict user to call some functionality in the component. This is like a separate service which is created, right? Which is having some methods and functionalities. Okay, both can be used, no doubt. Can we use the services to do a state management across the component? Yes, we can use it. And I could see something like a NGRX. NGRX is also doing the same thing. So NGRX is like it uses the concept of centralized storage. Now what is happening is services is like a scattered storage, right? Every service is able to store some data. But centralized storage is when you say centralized storing, that's where the NGRX libraries are used. I'll not get into that right now, but that's a separate library, external library which is there. Yeah, tree shaking applies to services. Yes, it applies to only services. This line what you see, right? This line, it's not a big concept altogether, guys. It's just a compiler option. It's just a compiler option which says that please make sure that my if the service is not been called anywhere. For example, this service, right? This service is not been used anywhere. So if there is any logic in that, that will not be included in your bundle because no one is using it. So that compiler will make a check on that. Getting? That is what is a tree shaking. So because of this, what will happen? Your size will reduce obviously, and your initial load is improved because your size of the project is lower down. Right? The size will automatically everything will work. Clear, everyone? Okay. Now let's. I hope everyone is clear with the service. Okay. This is another way of passing the data. So same like different ways. This is one more way of passing the data. Clear? Fine. Now, guys, say I have just created that message service as well, right? Where is that? How to restrict any component from using the service. If you want to restrict the component for using the service and you know that one service is only used by only one component, then what you can do is you always have a provision for providing at the local level. Remove that option of this option, remove this option and provide at the local level here like this. So automatically for this when this component is using it, only this component will have that service accessibility. See, services are basically shared by across, right? So you can't say that, okay, you should not be using this my service, right? Why we create a service? So that everyone can use it. A generic term service itself says that, right? Everyone can use it. Okay. So if you want it locally, you can have a local object and remove that accessibility option here. So that will be only available for that component only. Okay. That way we can handle it. Okay, fine. So now remember, we are coming back here. I created a message service, right? I just stopped that in between and jumped into this services. So what was my requirement, guys? My requirement was I wanted to show a message at the central place. Okay, whenever I click on save, whenever I click on some delete, anything I do, I wanted the message should be always here. So what I can do here is I have created a message service. In this message service, I am going to create a subject object. It looks a little weird, subject object. I'll make it as a type string. Okay, so I'm going to use a subject here. See, let's initialize it. Done. Now I'm going to create two methods here. One is notify, wherein I'm going to take a message from the user and I will emit it. Emit in the sense I will produce a message. So with the help of subject, I can produce it, right? Using next. So here I'm going to say message. So now what is happening is, with the help of this method, I am able to publish one message or produce one message. And same way, I will say one more method, get message, whose job is to allow as observable. I'll just convert it to as observable. What is subject exactly? It's an observable type. We have already seen it, right? So observable. So you can produce a message. If you see, with the help of a subject, I was able to produce the data. Next. And whoever is subscribed to that is able to read the data. See? Correct? Same thing. So here what I'm doing is, with the help of subject, I am producing the data using this method. And with the help of get message, I will try to subscribe it at some point, some places. So see what is going to happen now. This message service, I can inject it in my app component, root component. Okay, I'm going to inject it here. So here I'll say inject message service equal to inject message service. Okay, I'm injecting the message service here. And here what I'll do, I will say this dot message service dot get message, because it is returning me observable type. If you see, it is observable. Correct? Because I converted it into observable. In fact, I can, if you keep this as well, it is observable only. I can subscribe it. Okay, and when I am trying to print it in this block. Okay, clear? Now, from the template driven page, wherever the message is getting in the alert, what I'll do is, I will always make a habit of injecting this service in all my screens wherever I have the message, injecting the message service, and my job would be this dot message service dot notify. So what will happen now? When I click on notify, when I execute notify executed, it is publishing one message, right? Now, because my app component is already subscribed to it, it will always have a message to read. So now you will see, whenever I add a new record, my messages will be always shown in the root component. Make sense? Right? Now, if I want to send an error, I can also have a functionality for sending an error as well. So, but that error will always go into the error block. But I can say error. Okay, these are all optional, guys. Huh? Error, complete are optional. I mean, you don't have to use it always. It's an optional. I'll just log it here. Okay, complete and error is optional. Usually we use the next, which is important. Since subject is observable, then why we need to, that is okay. I mean, okay, that's a very good question. If I don't do it, right, still I have a subscribe method here. Still I have a subscribe. Okay, it's fine. I just converted it into, so if you see, still it is working. See. Okay, I was just converting as an observable type, because what will happen now, this is actually showing me a subject type, right? That's the reason I just converted as observable. So to make it consistent, right? Everywhere it is observable. Clear? Makes sense, everyone, everyone, what is happening? So this subject, but now what will happen if I use a behavior subject? Okay, what will happen if I keep a behavior subject here instead of subject? It will maintain one value, the last value. Now what is going to happen is, if this subscription which is happening, which I had done it, if I do it on a click of a button, if I just subscribe this on a click of a button as well, for that button, whoever is subscribing, that person will not get any value if I use a subject, because subject will only give the latest value. But if I use a behavior subject, it will get the last value which was already there. It will keep that value in the memory and it will give that value to him. Right? And if I use a replay subject, it can give you a list of values based on that buffer size. Does it make sense? Everyone? I know this is, and now this message is always been shown, right? I can hide that message. To hide that message, I'll make use of set timeout. And I'll say after 2 seconds, just clear that message. Right? So that message is gone now. So if I add a new record, 2 seconds, the message is gone. Please show the behavior subject. Nothing is going to change in behavior subject, Mahesh. So what will happen is, instead of subject, it will be behavior subject. Okay. In behavior subject, the requirement is that it is always going to maintain one default value. We need to provide one default behavior subject. Okay. Here I'll say hello. I'll just keep it a default message. I need to keep a default message here. Rest all remains the same. Why I need to change this variable? I can keep it as it is, right? Yeah. Now what is happening is, if I load the home page, you will see at least one message is by default available. See, hello. Because it maintains one value, right? Because the subscription already there, it is maintaining that last value. Subject, in case of subject, will not maintain any value. Clear? Make sense? Yeah, I can do a notify. Yes, I can do a notify. So now for me, this is the last value. Now if I click on any button, that button, on a click of that button, if anyone is subscribing, he will get that message automatically. See, let me show you. I'll keep one button as well here. Input type button. Okay, I'll click here. Call me. This is the method I'm going to call. Value. Add subscription. Just a button on the root page. Let's go and write the code here. Call me. So here what I'll do is, I'll just use that same message service and I'll subscribe it. Next. Response. And just to show, I'll write in the console. See. Last message. I just keep a text here, last message. See, okay. Now see, I'll open the F12 as well. So I have a button here called as add subscription. Can you see here? Right now, what is I'm using what? Behavior subject. That means there is a hello already available, right? Now, if I add a new record, now the last message is what? Product saved successfully. Now if I click on that button here, this one, that message you will see, it is maintaining that last message. Because behavior subject will at least have that last message available. But if I use a subject, that message will not, because I am subscribing later, right? मतलब मैं subscription बाद में कर रहा हूँ. पहला सब्सक्रिप्शन में जो लोगों को जो मिला था, they will already got that information. But I am subscribing today. तो मुझे वो लास्ट वाले का मतलब लास्ट वाले को जो मिला था वो मुझे नहीं मिलेगा, right? Because of subject. But behavior subject will give a last. एक ऐसा example लो. Let's take an example. The gift for the subscribers. Let's say the company is giving the gift. Okay? So everyone is getting the gift. But when I subscribe it today, I will not get any gift if I use a subject, because today onwards I have subscribed it. So there is no one is going to get the last gift जो provide किया था. But if I use a behavior subject, at least I will get the last month gift to me. Okay, and if I use a replay subject, I can provide the number of values. So वो last 3 messages I can get it, or three gift I can get it. If I provide 3. If I provide 4, I'll get the last 4 values. I can read it. Even though I subscribe it today, मुझे last 4 महीने के gift मिल जाएंगे. That's the difference. Yeah, maintains the values. Exactly. So Nishant, you are very correct. If I use a replay subject will have hello and product saved both message available. I can read it. Loop लगा के I can read it. Both messages will be there for me. Perfectly this thing. See, if I change this to replay subject, ठीक है? I'll not make any change. I'll just change it to replay subject. तो मेरे पास 2 messages है. And hello, obviously in replay subject we cannot pass an initial value, but here we pass a, let's say 3 or 2. ठीक है? Now what will happen is, if I save that value 2 times, I will get that product saved successfully, two values available with me. Okay, initially if you see there is nothing, refresh it, nothing is there. Let's pass it. Saved. Clear? I'll add one more record. Saved. Okay. I will have one more record. So I have 3 times send the message. Now that replay subject is maintaining 2 values because the subscription is, so you can see it is showing me 2. कंसोल में 2 बार प्रिंट हुआ because 2 बार उसने fetch करके लाया 2 messages, last 2 messages. Clear? Is it clear? Okay. Subbu, default value for behavior subject? No, there is no value for default value for behavior subject is optional. No, you have to at least initialize because based on the data type, you have to have some initial value. While creating the object, it is expecting a constructor is expecting a value. Okay, so you have to have the default value. That's why if you see the definition, I clearly said कि I read this line. It makes sure that whoever is subscribing to the behavior subject will at least get the last value available. जो भी last value उसमें पड़ा था, that value he will get it, no matter when you are subscribing, right? Sure. So now we have created a service here, product service. Now obviously why we are creating the service, because now we want to make some CRUD operations, right? So for services, and if you want to deal with database APIs, right? Now when you talk about services, the majorly we also use the services for calling the APIs. So I'm going to create some methods here. Let's say get products. Okay, which will get the product from the API. Then I will have a add product, wherein I'm going to add a new product to insert, which is of type product. Okay, and then I will have a delete product. We are going to create these methods. Okay, I'm going to pass the product ID, which is a number to delete, and let's say you have a get product by ID. In case of edit, right? You pass the product ID, and based on the edit, you are going to get the value. So I'm going to create these 4 methods, right? And these are going to call my API. Now, where is these APIs? So just for our testing purpose, what I did is in the same folder, I have created a dummy API. Now APIs can be, web API can be any technology. It can be in Angular, sorry, it can be in Express.js, it can be created using the Java, .NET, doesn't matter. Okay, it can use any technology, it doesn't matter. Just we need an API with an endpoint, right? And which can provide me JSON data. That's it. So what I did here is, guys, just to save time, I have created a dummy API. Okay, I could have used some ready-made fake APIs available in online, but those are like, you will not be able to do post properly. So that's the reason I have created a dummy API in .NET Core. What is the API is going to do? This API is having 4 methods, which I just talked about. See, 4 methods. Okay, now how it is maintaining the data? There is no database as such. Just to maintain the data, what I did is I just created a static list. Now, what is the importance of static in a class? Static means until my application is running, the data will not be lost. So I can consider this as a persistent storage for me. Correct? So then I have methods called as a get products, which will return me all the products which are already there with the status code as 200. Then I have a post request for adding a product, which will actually add a new record in the collection, in the same collection, and return 201 status code. I have a delete product, which will actually delete the record. So for deleting the product, I will identify which product to delete, remove it from that, and then return the status code with a flag as a true. And then I have get product by ID, which will return me the actual product based on the ID. So 4 API methods. Okay, let me run it and show you. So when I run this, I'll get a Swagger screen. Swagger is nothing but we call it as a documentation, okay, which will provide me the list of all the services, all the APIs which are created in the project. Don't worry, this thing you will get to know if you go through some .NET Core videos. You'll automatically get to know how this is created if you're not familiar with this. See, all the methods are there. If I try to click and test it out, see, I have data getting fetched. Okay, now this same API, I'm going to use it in my project. So this is my endpoint. So now what I want to do, I wanted to call my get products. So the first requirement when you want to deal with any web API, calling any web API, the first requirement is you need to have a module imported in your project. That is called as a HTTP client module, because I am going to make a HTTP request, right? So you need a module called as a HTTP client module. This comes under Angular/common/HTTP. This module is required. Okay. Then in my service, I need to inject one class called as a HTTP client. I need to inject one class called as a HTTP client. This class is having a methods get, post, put, delete, all the methods, right? So here see what I'm writing. I'm just saying this dot HTTP client dot, I wanted to make a get request. I'll pass the URL. Now this URL is going to return me, see, if you see the return value, it is written me observable of type object. That is the reason we are actually understanding what is observable and all. So it is going to return me observable of type object. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that it is observable of type product array. Okay, I'm making it as a observable of type product array. That's it. This is what I'm going to write down in my service. Now, because it is returning me observable type, what I need to do? I need to subscribe. Wherever I need it, I need to subscribe. So get product, I need to subscribe it. Is it clear? Okay, let's go and also add the method for the post as well. So here also I'm going to say it is a post request. It's going to be a post. Now I know that this method is going to return me Boolean. If you check here in our API Swagger, I have an add method wherein I can add a new record. See, I'm going to add a new record, P123. I'll say here test and some value, and I'll post it. So you can see it is returning me true, 201 true. Okay, so what I can do here is, here I can have a post which is returning me Boolean. And this data, let data equal to, I'll just stringify it. The data which is going to come here, I'll just stringify it and pass it as a second argument. Paste. So my post is also done. Same way for delete. I have a, oh, this is going to be add. Same way for delete. I have another method called as a return this dot HTTP client dot delete. Again, this is also returning me Boolean for me. And what I do is in delete, basically I pass the, see, if I go to delete and if I try to delete any record, let's say 67. So you can see now there are two records here. If I click on execute, you have two records. I'll just try to delete the 7. So I'll pass that 67 here. So you can see the URL is looks something like this. I'll copy this URL and it is written me true. So this 67 would be the dynamic value. PID. Okay. And same way, we have one more as a get. Get, which returns me product. This is for get. Clear? So all the methods are created. All good? Now this method, I will try to use it in my component and then we'll wrap it for today. One of the component I'll use it. So in the template driven, wherever I am saving the data, let's actually save the data in the with the help of API. So I'm going to inject product service. Inject product service. Okay. here I'm going to say this dot product service dot add product. What I need to pass? Product object, which is already there in my screen. Okay, that will be subscribed, and then subscribe as a three methods, callback methods, right? One is going to give me the response. One is going to give me the error. So if there is any error in the API, that will get into this block. And one is complete. Complete is not mandatory. You can avoid if you need it. If you need, then only you can handle it. Okay. Here what I'll do is, if the response is true, because I am returning what Boolean value, I will notify this message. Control X, paste. And here I'll just try to print the message as a console.log error. That's it. I'll remove this complete block, not required. Clear? Is it clear? Nishant will come to that. How can we store the in configurations? Okay, now you will see quickly I'm able to save the data and I think I got an error. Let's check. See the network tab? I click on save. I'm getting an error which says that unsupported media type. Now what happened, guys? The data which I was sending in the request, you will see my content type is passed as a text plain. It should have passed as a application JSON. So my API is the data which is getting sent is passed as a text plain text format. So what I'll do is, guys, here I'm going to pass my header along with this data. So here I'll say HTTP or my header equal to new HTTP header. Okay, and here I'm going to say I wanted to pass content type as application /JSON. I think we need to do colon. Yeah. Okay. So I am going to pass this header. So this is a third argument which I am going to pass it. You can see there is a third optional argument, headers. So I can say here I wanted to pass my headers. Format. Clear? Now if you try to submit it, it should get submitted. See. In fact, the message will also be printed here. See. Click. Still it is giving me error. 1 second, let me check. Content AP, oh, spelling is wrong. My bad. Okay, still the spelling was wrong. Click. See, message saved successfully. And if I go and check the get request, you will be able to see all the records are available here. The third one also. See what I added recently. One second. Is my API properly written? Is it adding a new record? It is. It called the API. The data is there. Perfect. It is pushed in the collection. Perfect. Then why my Swagger is not showing me the latest? It's there. I was not clicking. Yeah, you can see the records are getting added. I know multiple times it added. I was clicking multiple times. Clear? So now every time when I push it, it is going to add a new record. So I'll just push it. It's calling the API and the data is pushed. And you can check the Swagger, click on link, you will see a new record is getting added. Clear, everyone? Okay, we'll talk about this interceptor and everything, Nishant, but let's not get into that. Yeah, so now let me show you one. Okay, this is clear. I hope everyone is clear with this, how the post is happening. Okay, now for the get, definitely we can play with creating the grid, right? So I'll just create one component. within the product folder itself, I'm going to say product list. Okay, it will take not take more than 2 minutes. I want to create a get request. So for get request, you can see I have a product list, right? So I'll just have H4 product list. So one for product list, what I'll do is here, I'm going to inject product service, inject product service, and I will create a method called as a load products. This dot product service dot get products, which is returning me. I'll subscribe it. I'll say next, which will return me the response. Okay, I'll create an array of product here to load it in the grid like this. Product array, and let me initialize it in the constructor. Done. So I'm subscribing here, and now I will just assign the products with the response, because I know the type of return value is product array. Okay, and if you are in case of error, I will say error is console.log error. Okay, now in the UI, let's create a quick table. It won't take much time. Table space table hyphen stripped CSS thead tr th product ID. Let's copy paste it. Product name, product code, price. And T body, TR. So I loop it. NG for let prod of products. And here I'll say TD prod dot product ID, product name, product price, and this. And price. Okay, done. So table is ready. Now I need a one routing, right, to show that product list. So what I'll do is I'll quickly add here, let's say list, which will load me the product list component. And if you want in the menu, you can add a menu on the top. So let's have it quickly. A navigation for product list. Okay. Now one thing I have not made a call to the load product methods. I've just created the method. To call the method, the best place to call this method is there is one lifecycle hook available called as onInit. Because if you try to call this method in the constructor, what will happen? By that time your UI is not ready, right? So the best place to call the any load event, right? That is nothing but it's a onInit. It is called as a lifecycle hook. We'll talk in detail later. So I will make that call in this block, because by this time your control is ready. All the HTML is ready. Okay, so I'll make the call here. So now if you observe, go to the product list, all the data is getting loaded. Okay, if I add a new record, click, added. I'm not redirecting it right now. We can see how can we redirect as well. But yeah, this is how it is getting added. Clear? Okay. Now, one thing you will see is when you subscribe, guys, anything, when you subscribe, there is always a provision for unsubscribe as well. Correct? So right now it is subscribed here. So now what happens is it's a good practice to unsubscribe everything, whatever you have subscribed it. And that unsubscribe will happen only when you want to destroy that component. Okay. So for example, now this component is loaded, right? You have subscribed to it. Now I wanted that when I click on some other link, now my product list is destroyed. So by the time it is destroyed, just I want to unsubscribe it. I want to clean up my memory. Okay. For that, what you can do is you can always create a subscription object here. Okay. You can always create a subscription object. Undefined, I'll say. And whenever you are creating a subscribing it, you can always assign this object to here like this. Okay. Now, when do I unsubscribe it? Whenever I want to unsubscribe it, the one more, there is a lifecycle loop called as a on destroy. So by the time your component is clicked with another, when you click on another link, okay, when you click on another link, your on destroy gets triggered automatically. And here I am going to say, please, subscription should be unsubscribed. See, I'll try to print it. Product list destroyed. Okay, I'll just put a message here. See now, I'm in the product list now. Okay. And see, when I click on any link, it will trigger that product list destroyed, and it is also unsubscribed my subscription. Okay, so that's a good practice. Everywhere, wherever you are doing a subscription, you have to unsubscribe it. And how do we unsubscribe it? You have to assign that whenever you subscribe, you have to just assign it to the subscription object. It can be an array as well. It's up to us. And finally, you can unsubscribe all the subscriptions together through the loop. Clear, everyone? Oh, it's 6:15. Sorry for taking extra time. So I hope everyone is clear. Okay, we are going to see more detailed example of like deleting all these functionalities and call subscribe method as well. Then you are going to call that directive. Okay, and wherever you are talking about, import a call web API using Angular. Okay, what is the step? Import a module called as HTTP client module. This is required because that HTTP client class is inside this in app.module.ts. Then create a service and inject a class HTTP client. Create methods for get, post, put, delete. Right? All the methods you are going to create it. So I'm actually talking about this step. Where is that? Yes, I'll just copy one of them. Okay. And wherever you need that service, inject a service in the component. You can inject it anywhere, directive, pipe. If you have created a custom pipe, custom, you can always inject the service. Okay, that's it. And then you are going to call that service. Yeah, last one. Call the service method and call subscribe method as well. I'm just copying one of the code snippet so that you have a reference. This one. Okay, this is how we are going to make a service call. Add them to the list and subscription and then unsubscribe it. You didn't got it. So, okay, maybe I can show you later. Wherever we have more than one, right, you have to provide it in an array and you can subscribe. Because see, if I want to unsubscribe it, I cannot create a different objects every time, right? So usually what we do, we create an array of it. Okay, we create an array of it and I say subscription object array. Now, wherever it is required, wherever I want to unsubscribe it, I'll just make sure it is actually pushing in the array. Like this, subscription.push. Okay. Why this is giving error? Because it is not initialized, possibly. Yeah. Okay. So I'm pushing it in the array. Okay. And then finally, when you're unsubscribing it, I'll better go and loop it and unsubscribe it. Subscription dot each for each. And I know that all the subscriptions are there, right? So I'll say unsubscribe. So automatically all my subscription will be cleared. Got it? Yeah, there are ways. So this way you can push it to each of the subscription, and finally all the loops will get unsubscribed. So automatically I don't have to worry. Otherwise it will be very difficult to maintain the different subscription, right? See, this is for getting the product. What about if I have something getting some other data? So all the subscription should be unsubscribed together. Clear? Okay. I hope everyone is clear with this. Let's wrap it. It's already 6:15. I'm going to share the code. Please do practice it. Spend some time, and I'll be sharing the API as well. Okay. So please do practice all these things. I know at some point this is little difficult to digest, and more especially like if you guys are not working on it. If you guys are already working on Angular, it is easy for you to understand. But whoever is not working on this, you have to have a practice. Otherwise, all this, whatever we are covering, is of no use. No matter whichever training you take, it's of no use if you're not going to practice at least 2 times. Clear? At least practice 2 or 3 times. Same example, same. Don't go into complex examples. Complex examples will get into a lot of distractions later. Like if anything not working, you will get confused and you will stop practicing. Take a simple example. Whatever we are taken is like a very, very common simple example, and try to implement it. Okay, we have to see this to function as well. How can we implement it? It's by ID. Okay, we'll include it in later session. Okay, so we have all the I have added all the things in the links, so it should be easy for you to just run the code and get it executed. You don't have to write. Also, you can always run my code. I'm going to share the whole project as it is with this API as well. Okay, chalo. Let's wrap it and enjoy your